I'm your host, Scott Garber, and I'm excited to welcome our next guest, Preston Harris, to the show. Preston, my man, happy Thursday. How are you doing?
Hey, man, Scott, you just got me hyped. I'm not going to lie, man. The remarkable show. We on the remarkable show. It's got to be a remarkable Thursday. I can't lie, my good man.
Man, Preston, I am so excited to have you. I mean, after just reading a little bit about some of the remarkable things you've done in the world, we're going to go all the way back to your days in Nebraska and fill in the gaps along the journey to understand how you landed in Jacksonville, what you're doing with the real-time app, and how you're, putting your fingerprint on the world. So take me back to Nebraska where the journey starts, man. What was life like for Preston growing up?
Well, I mean, I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska. I was not born there, but I was raised there, and life growing up was awesome, man. A great place to grow up, great place to live. The only problem is that I don't want to say now that I'm an adult, I see it as okay, but people, they get comfortable. They go to college, they had their job, and they got comfortable. And for me, I wanted a little bit more out of life than to just work for one company my whole life. And so went to college at Concordia University, shout out the Bulldogs, went to the NFL Combine, and that I got tired of waiting on a phone call to determine where I was going to spend my future. So I went to work for National Research Corporation, working with billion-dollar healthcare organizations on their patient experience programs. So, for example, when you go to a hospital or a primary care physician, you usually get a survey afterwards. I was the person who sent you that survey and filled out the results of that survey. So that gave me a real big time view of healthcare, of business, of a lot of things going on. And I was in Washington, D.C. at Howard University Hospital. I was working with a gentleman named Ron Harris. We had a meeting. My VP was blowing it, and I came in and saved the day. And Ron said to me afterwards, I thought you ran the company. And like that idea of, I can run a company just kind of stuck in my head. So I ended up quitting my corporate job, starting a nonprofit called Men with Dreams, and then getting into speed and agility training. So I've been a speed and agility trainer, a certified one since about 2015. I work with athletes all over the place and people just to work on their bodies, but really the mental side of the game. If you can get your mind right, there's nothing that can stop you. So I ended up coming to Jacksonville, Florida. My son's mother got a job doing news here. And so I was tired of Nebraska, said, it's time for a new adventure, and fell in love with Florida, man. Then I tell people the 402 made me. But the 402 raised me, but the 904 made me, because Duval, Florida is a beautiful, Jacksonville, Florida is a beautiful place, great people. You have to be tough and you have to be focused out here to survive, because there's so many great people and so many great entrepreneurs out here. And so it's really built me, it's helped me grow. And then had the opportunity to join with John in the real-time app this summer. And we've just been taking off from there. So.
Ooh, Preston, we got a lot to unpack, right? And one of the things that you talk about, I was doing some reading, right? You say, never be average. The world is counting on you. And for me, I'm a former athlete. I'm from the South. So there's a lot that you just talked about that resonates with me. And it's a lot of shit to push through, right? Like, in order to go ahead and become remarkable, you got a lot of forces that are pulling against you. So talk to me, as you were coming up, through your athletic days, what did you pull from those experiences that have helped you sort of, transition that into the business world?
Okay. So Scott, when you feel like you're about to take over the game?
Well, I was a punter, but yes, of course, I know that feeling.
I'm about to take over this game.
Boy, I'm going to put that thing on the 2-yard line.
Put it on the 2-yard line. But like, just how you can control the game, right? Like, you have your ability to make your mark on the game. What you do can dramatically impact the game positively or negatively. And so I just kind of take that into business, having that kind of confidence that, I can dramatically impact the world or a community or somebody's life with the business that I do. And really leaning into that and saying, okay, I'm going to dominate this space today. I'm going to dominate these phone calls I have to make. I'm going to dominate this training session that I have. Or with the real-time app, it was dominating listening, because we had to figure out what what people liked about the app, what was going wrong with the app, how they would use it and stuff like that. So I had to sit there and we had to have people in our face asking us questions that we knew the answers to, that we didn't know the answers to, and really taking it and not taking it personally, but really saying, all right, they're trying to tell us something. How can I get through all the muck and take the gold that's in there and use that to move forward? So that's what I would say with people, is like using that skill of being an athlete or being in the game to dominate. And then, you know, in the game, if you stub your toe or something like that, you keep going, you keep playing, the adrenaline takes over. But sometimes in business, if something happens that's wrong, we could let that take us out for the whole day. And it's like, no, if I'm playing in the game, this wouldn't stop me. So if I'm doing business, I can't allow this to stop me. You know, I gotta take it in stride, or take it and keep moving, or find a way to get around it, to get through it, so we can win the game, so we can reach the destination.
Man, that's a great perspective. And, you know, I think one of the things I want to call out, you know, especially with this being the Remarkable Show, is life is a marathon, and remarkable things don't happen right out of the gate, right? Like, you know, I mean, Preston, I was part of the inaugural team at South Alabama, and we showed up there. It was piles of dirt, a vision. And they said, hey, in 5 years, we're going to be full-fledged Division I. We're going to be playing against SEC schools. Man, no way did I think that, you know, at that point in time that we would be there, right? And so so it's pretty cool to see when you realize this is a marathon and you're able to connect the mind and body. Remarkable things truly do happen. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a quick shout out, since we're talking about Nebraska, to my girl Shantae McMillan, who's going to be she's going to be competing in the Tokyo
going
Games.
to the Olympics, isn't she?
Yeah, man, she's one of Nebraska's finest out there. So so she embodies that mindset. She's going to be on the show with us eventually. But you enjoying it? You having a good time?
Man, it's cool. It's cool talking to you, and it's cool that you know Shantae. Like, Nebraska's a small place, so you know, if you're doing big things in Nebraska, people know who you are. So it's cool that you know who she is. That's real. You know, she's a big time. She does big time stuff. So that's cool.
So I had Shantae on my last podcast, and I do some work with her, one of the ladies that represents her. So
Cool.
and we're going to talk about that, right? So Preston, coming from Nebraska, there's a lot of mentality that sort of keeps you, or wants to keep you in Nebraska. What ultimately was that switch that said, like, hey, I got to go and expand my perspective outside of the Midwest so I can grow as a person?
Yeah. So what happened was, when I moved to Florida, initially for the first 2 years, you know, I felt like I was drowning the whole time. And so when COVID hit and everything like that, I went back to Nebraska for a little while, and I was there in the community, and I had a woman, her name was Danielle. She makes tie-dye sweatshirts. And she was just like, you're slacking a little bit here. And like, you know, sometimes we can get in places and we can get comfortable. And, you know, in Florida, the thing is that I can never slack, because I don't have any room to. Everybody's moving too fast. The people want things too much. And to be successful here, you have to work so hard to get it. In Nebraska, it's not that you don't have to work hard to get success. It's just the pace is a little bit slower. And so for me, it was like, I can handle this slow pace and I can be comfortable and I can do everything that I need to do, or I can really push myself and challenge myself in Florida and I don't know what I'm going to be, but I feel like I'm going to become something greater there than I will being comfortable here. And so I just made the decision that I'm going to bet on myself, you know, bet on the best version that I can be, instead of just hoping that, that things go out well, or just being comfortable. I'm going to push it to the limit, because I mean, we have one life. We might as well push it to the limit.
Man, John and I were talking about that. We literally have one life here. And so I'm curious, because I came from a slower town, right? I played college football in Mobile, and then moved out to Denver, and Denver had a little more pop in it, right? It was moving. And so I'm curious, did your definition of success change or evolve when you left Lincoln and sort of expanded the horizons when you landed down in Florida?
It evolved, because success is all relative, right? So you can have all the money, all the business acumen, and all the accolades, but if you don't have a happy family sometimes, then that's not success to me. And so for me, success changed because if the standard was here and I could be comfortable with just a nice house, a nice car, and my family, that was cool. But now I could see more, I could be more, I can make a bigger impact. So success to me now is just being on the path every day to my journey, because I know that I'm going to do great things, but I have to make sure that all those pieces are in place and then I'm checking all the boxes, because there's been times where, you know, I've thought that my business was being really successful, but I wasn't handling my family business the way I was supposed to do it. So it wasn't as successful as it should have been. So to me, success now is that balance, that everything's headed in the right direction, that your family's good, that your health is good, that you've got money in the bank in your business and you're headed towards your dream, because it's that total package that makes you really complete, not just one or two of the pieces, because you can have success in one or two areas, and success may be you're doing everything you want, but that third or fourth area is going to pop up and it's not going to be pretty. So I really think success now, I look at it as well-rounded and not being busy all the time because my business is doing good, but having the time to be able to say, all right, business is going great, but there's something going on with my family. I need to step away and everything still works really, really well. So that's more so success to me.
It's an incredible definition, and I think something remarkable is happening, and it's unfortunate that it takes a pandemic to move the pendulum or swing it back. But I mean, Preston, I don't know if you're seeing this, man, but humans are across the board are leaning more into impact and community and this bigger, hey, it's bigger than just me. And I think, you know, we sort of got caught up in this notion, especially here in the Western world in America, of this, hey, I got to make $1 million. And then when I make $1 million, I got to make my next million. And we never took time to enjoy the fruits of our labor. And I think, you know, we're coming up and saying, hey, there's got to be balance in this. There's something more. And I want to use that, Preston, to transition, because some of the work you're doing seems like you're laying a foundation. So let's talk about 7 C's. This to me seems one of the most remarkable programs. I'm excited because, you know, I'm from Florida, so this is now back in my backyard. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about 7 C's, where it came from, what it's all about?
So 7 C's is awesome. 7 C's is the creation of Christopher Chandler. Christopher Chandler was my first mentor kind of when I got here in Florida. He is a US 200 meter champion. He holds the records for the 60, the 100, and the 200 at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. But Christopher was my first really mentor here in Florida. And what he taught me was just about the standards that you have to have and the standards that you have to set for these kids here. I've done youth development programs my whole life. But in Florida, it's a different environment. They throw kids away. I'm going to be honest with you. They throw them away. If you're not up to par, if you're not getting stuff right away, they will throw you away. And so what we had to do is we did programs in George Washington Carver Elementary School, which is one of the toughest elementary schools in the country, just to show those kids that they can be respectful, to give them a positive male role model, but that to encourage them that it's their responsibility to go get what they want. And so it was a great program. I met a lot of great people. I was able to be on the task force for crime and safety reduction in Jacksonville, Florida, because of some of the work that we did with 7 C's, but really meeting kids at their level, whether they be in foster care. So we did programs for foster care. We did programs for kids in foster care, kids that are just in transition, but helping them understand, like, your life is your own. Okay. It's your responsibility that if you want something, you have to go get it. And you have to set a standard for yourself that allows you to go get it. And so that's what I think about 7 C's. The 7 C's was just the standard here in Florida of this is Florida life, because Florida life, you know, is different than everywhere else. Yep. You have to do things differently. You have to move differently. And so helping me understand that this is what Florida life is. These are how Florida kids are different in this climate, this environment is different for them. And this is how we push them in the right direction. So I had to talk to my business partner with 7 C's, Christopher Chandler, yesterday. And he's just an amazing guy. Like I'm really blessed and thankful that I had the opportunity to learn and grow, because you wouldn't think that Christopher is as brilliant as he is because he has golds and dreads and a bunch of tats and he looks pretty scary, but he's a brilliant man and he really does have a heart for the North Florida community. So yeah, Seven Seas is awesome.
So subtle plug. I think we might have to get Chris on the show because I mean, it sounds like
Yeah.
he's doing remarkable things. So that would be really cool. But I want to break down Seven C's because I think a lot of people listening right now, they might be thinking about the letter C. What does that actually mean? And it's actually not that, right? So it's 7 SEAS. So specifics, equality, academia, and sport. Break
Yeah.
that down to me. What are those pillars? Why did you come up with those?
So those are, I wish I could tell you I came up with them, but those pillars were Christopher's pillars, and specifics is like everybody specializes in something, right? So we want to find that area or your dream or that area that you specialize in. So we find that area, we can identify that area, and then we go to equality. So in our programs, everybody has to talk in our programs. So you have to talk, you have to speak, because we're all equal. Everybody's opinion matters. Everybody has a voice, and we want people to be confident in using that voice. So that's equality. Academia is that we're always going to challenge you with a word of the day, or we're going to teach you a new concept, whether it be psychology based or about your body or something like that, because learning is fundamental. If you're not learning and you're not growing all the time, then what are you doing? And especially for kids in school, they don't think about, like, school is your only responsibility. Your job here is to learn. So every single time in every single program, we ask you, what did you learn today? Because if you're not doing your responsibility to learn, whether the teacher does her job or his job, whatever is going on, it's your responsibility to learn. So we just challenge them that way. And then the last one is sport. With all of the programs that I do, Seven C's, anything, there's always a fitness component to it, because we believe that physical health is so closely tied to mental health. And whatever was on your mind prior to an event or something that we have going on, before we want to teach you, I want to wipe your mind clear with a workout. So, for example, next weekend for the real-time rollout, we're going to do Fit Church out on the beach. That's because that fitness element is going to put those endorphins in your body. You're going to be feeling good. And then when I provide you with that good information, you're more receptive to it. You can handle it better, and then you can take action on it.
Drop the mic, man. And let me ask you a question, right? You're dialed in on the, on the business side, but also on the athlete side, on the workout, the actual vessel itself. Would you say a lot of successful people that you meet, regardless of how they define success, have an element of exercise in their life, or how do they balance that relationship with physical cardio exercise and this definition of being successful in the world that we've created?
Yeah. I think they just all have a discipline. They all have like a schedule or a habit that works for them. Everybody does it differently. Some people like to walk. Some people really like to go to the gym, and some people just have their chill enjoyment time where they get to really decompress. But I think all successful people, and especially entrepreneurs, they have the habits. And so I had to really look at my habits and, like, all right, are these the habits of success? Are these the habits of excellence that are going to get me what I want? And for a long time, whenever I would get into slumps, it was because I wasn't working out. It was because I wasn't challenging my body. And so I was in a real bad slump, and I was like, I need to get myself in the better direction. And I was in the middle of a park, and I was like, I can't control a lot of things, but I can control how my body looks. So I just went to work, and going to work in one area usually trickles over to all the other areas. So I think that discipline of having a schedule where they make time for themselves is the thing that separates them from everybody else, because a lot of people say they don't have time, and that's just not true.
Not true. That is it's just not true. Like, if you have time to make an excuse, you have time to do just about anything else, right?
Yeah. But it's like, you make time for everything else but yourself.
Yes.
And that's what I have to explain to people is like, all right, I'm in, my gym is on the north side of Jacksonville, and somebody may be coming from the beaches, and they're like, oh, well, that's a long drive. I'm like, well, that's time that you have with yourself. A lot of my clients enjoy that because that's their me time. They come and work on themselves, and then they get that me time going back. And it's like, are you worth that time? I have to ask them that. And sometimes they're like, oh, I didn't really think about it like that. Because you'll give time to everything else. You'll give time to TV, you'll give time to this or that. But are you really going to give your time to yourself to better your body and to put yourself in a better position long term?
And better
You know,
than mine, right? Like a lot of
better
people,
than mine.
a lot of
Oh my
people
God.
aren't ready to be with themselves, Preston, right? Like, I mean, you know, I go back to Michael Jackson. Shout out to MJ today on Motown is when the moonwalk broke. So that's pretty cool.
Hey.
So shout out to MJ, but I go back to that man in the mirror or woman in the mirror, right? And so much starts with ourselves. And I think when I'm listening to your journey, you go and sometimes you got to put yourself out of your comfort zone, and that's where the remarkable growth happens, right? And so now let's start to transition here, right? I mean, dude, you got stories on stories, and I want to come back on with you because we just glossed over all of your football days, and yeah, we'll come back to that. So anyways, so talk to me about the impact you're making now and sort of where you see it going, where, society's in a really fractured place. Give me some, what pushed you over the edge to go with John on the real-time app, and what kind of impact are you guys making with that?
Well, first of all, I got to give a shout out to John, because John's a fantastic person. Like, just really a really solid guy. And so I got to give a shout out to John, because that's part of the reason why I wanted to get on with the real time app. But with the real time app, it's a tool, right? So it's a tool that we can use on our phones to connect the good and to find the good. And so what I would see is, I do nonprofit work here in Florida. I do work in Nebraska. I travel a lot of places, but the people who are doing the good stuff, they weren't connected to the other people who are doing the good stuff, and they weren't able to share those best practices. And if you look at our communities, what you can see is that we're addicted to negativity. My grandfather was a police officer for 30 years, and in Lincoln, Nebraska. Probably he was one of two African American officers. So in our community, my grandfather is known and he is respected because he saved a lot of lives. He helped keep a lot of people out of trouble, but there's nobody to tell that story. There's that's not documented. So what we have is, we have this relationship with police where there's police officers who go to bat for us every single day, but don't get any recognition or any love. But the second something happens on the news, we go and we bash them, and we talk about them, when these people have been working and their job is to help us, and over a 15-second clip. And so I was like, you know what, we can have a lot more transparency, and we can see what's really going on in the community with the real time app. And so when I was looking at it, I wasn't in the best spot financially or anything like that, but I just believed in it. And I believed that we could help connect the people who are doing good. And then I believe that we could look at the patterns in communities and saying, okay, there's a lot of red dots, or there's a lot of injustice that's going on here. Who are the officers in this community? What's going on here? Or, hey, we thought this area was really, really bad, but if you look at it, there's a bunch of green. There's a lot of organizations. There's a lot of people who are doing a lot of good over here. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was. And so that was really what I saw it as, is a tool to bring people together, a tool to allow us to have conversations, because that's what we're not always going to agree. John and I do not always agree, but I have a respect and an understanding for where he comes from. And he has a respect and understanding for where I come from that allows us to move forward. And so if we do that in society, if we do that as a culture, then we can connect together and we can make ourselves stronger, because we're not looking at the things that divide us, but we're looking at the things that we agree on that we can use to move forward. And so that's the idea around the real time app. That's why I got involved, is because I thought it was a tool that we could use to bring people together. And that's really our goal. Is we went to New York, we went to Baltimore, we went to Nebraska, we went out to LA, and we found people who are doing good things in the community. And we started talking to them about how we could help. We need to be able to, they call it give your roses. Like, that's what they're talking about now since Kobe and all them, give people their roses while they're alive. And so we want to be able to give these people in the community their roses while they're alive, because they are the people who are actually changing lives and making a difference, not necessarily the people that you see every day on TV.
Remarkable. Drop the mic. That's what we do this for.
Thanks, sir. Thank
And you know, I mean, you talked about this, you know, personally, you know, in the earlier segment in the show, but momentum is she's cruel, right? And so like if you got it and it's going the right way, hey, you can really move mountains. But if you got it going the
Absolutely.
wrong way, hey, it's a mudslide and you know, it might not be able to stop it. And so, you know, I think what's interesting is we're seeing this shift in the way we consume. And we realize that these social platforms were built because negative things sell and these are ad driven platforms. And so Preston, as you guys start to go up against this, you know, this business model, right, that now is a behemoth, are you seeing that folks within the communities are really gravitating towards the more positive messages and it's starting to sort of like the cream's rising to the top? Or what are you guys experiencing sort of as you're launching this?
You know, Scott, what we're experiencing this is like we're a freight train coming, man. I'm going to be honest with you. Like the people who are doing the good have been waiting for people to recognize them and have been waiting for a platform that showcases what they do. And so we get people who are really excited. We've got Mary Nixon coming down from Lincoln, Nebraska. We've got Francesca Sparkle, who's coming down from DC, who heard about the real-time app and was like, yo, I want to be a part of this. We've got Joseph Bailey coming from New York. We've got, once people hear what we're doing and want to get a hold of it and want to be a part of it, it's a freight train coming. And so that's what we want to do. I'm glad you said momentum, because the people who are working to make this world worse are not taking a day off. But I feel like with this app, we can have that good and have that wave of momentum and that wave of positivity that can kind of wash out some of this bad stuff that we've got going on and really get us refocused back on ourselves. Like you said, like the pandemic forced people to look at themselves, and a lot of people didn't like what they saw. But it also forced people to get back in touch with their families, to have a closer relationship with their spiritual connection, to look at their family, to look at things differently, to look at themselves differently. And so if we can use the momentum from that to say, hey, we didn't like how things happened all the way in the 2010s, but 2020 is a whole new decade. It started off a little rough, but we can take this thing to the top. We want to be that vehicle, that freight train, and those leaders that help shift the culture. And so that's what we're really excited about. And I think that people have been wanting this, and they don't even know. Just like when Apple dropped the iPad, you know, no, not the iPad, the iPod. You know, people didn't know about the iPod yet until they got it in their hands. Well, people didn't really know about the real-time app till they were alone somewhere and they needed to make sure that somebody knew where they were. And then they used the app and somebody could make sure, oh, I saw exactly where you were on the map. Is everything okay? Yep, everything's fine. So, you know, it's just a tool, but that tool can be used to help keep people safe, bring people together, and ultimately make our world a better, safer place.
And I want to paint this picture for our listeners because I mean, Preston, like you, my friend, own it, embrace it, live it. I can feel it through the screen. But
Thank you,
a
sir.
lot of people probably didn't think that the taxi industry in New York could get disrupted by Uber, or the hotel industry globally could get disrupted by Airbnb. And
Yeah.
so, as I'm listening to your story, I've seen it in our lifetime. These big enterprises now start to get disrupted from folks just like me and you out here spreading a better gospel, right? A more community driven, holistic message. And so, man, I am so bullish. The work you're doing is remarkable, right? And that's why we bring you on the show. Um,
Thanks. I
if
appreciate the platform, dude. I really
if
do.
people want to learn more about the real time app, Preston, where can they find you on social?
So you can follow me at Preston, PRESTON, Harris, HARRIS. That is my total page, or you can follow Real Time Preston. That's Real Time Preston. Those are my two pages that I would encourage you to follow. You can always go to www.therealtimeapp.com or my training page, which is actiontnt.org. You can go there as well. That will always have our real-time app stuff on there, as well as that's part of it. But what I would encourage you to do is I would encourage you to follow our team. So if you click on my profile, look for John, look for Grayson, look for John Paul, look for Mary, look for Lagaya, look for Allison, look for all the other people around this, because it's bigger than just me. And that's the beautiful thing about this, is that, Scott, and I can't wait to get you in a room so you can experience that. But once we go to one of our panels or something like that, and we get the energy of champions, of bosses in the room, of leaders, of people, of eagles who are flying high, then, you know, the conversation is different. We move different afterwards, and then the follow through. And that's the biggest thing, is the follow through is clutch, you know, because you got bosses in the room. And so I'm really excited for the events that we have coming up in Jacksonville, Florida. You should check them out Easter weekend. We're going to Nebraska next. We're going out to LA. We're coming up to New York. But just check them out either virtually or in person, because that energy of people who are positive and who are trying to do good things in the community is all around us. That's who we surround ourselves with. That's our tribe. And so we'd love to get you plugged in. You can follow me, Preston R. Harris, on IG. On Facebook, it's Preston Harris. On Twitter, I don't even remember what my Twitter is. I need to use Twitter more. But just look for Preston Harris, Preston R. Harris on IG, or Real Time Preston, and that's the best way to get in touch with me. Send me a message. I'm really accessible. We need some sponsors. So if you want to be a part of this wave, we do a lot of brand work. We do a lot of marketing work. I make a lot of videos, so I'd love to help connect you with the brand and showcase what you do with what we do. So that's where we're at right now.
That's the mission of the Remarkable Show, is to connect remarkable people with remarkable impact and build this community. Because Preston, the whole through line of this has been, it's bigger than us, right? It takes more than just me and you in order to go ahead and really make a movement. And so, I mean, the work you're doing is just incredible, man. So Preston Harris, from myself, from the Remarkable team, thank you so much for coming on. And remember, this is a platform for remarkable people telling remarkable stories, making remarkable impact. You guys stay safe out there, and we'll see you on the next episode.